jobs, both good and bad. So basically, we just are going to talk about like just your favorite duty stations and your least favorite, and your best jobs and your worst job. I'd like to start with Eric. Can you tell me your favorite duty station and why?
It's my one and only went, man. In South Dakota, I was at Ellsworth Air Force Base. I was there for 6 years, the whole time. And
Okay.
so yeah, and I liked it. Actually, I'm from North Dakota. So of the two, the South Dakota is the better Dakota. We have the Black Hills and Mount Rushmore and hiking and camping. So yeah, I loved it. It was a good time.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Justin? What's your work? What was your worst duty station?
So I only had two, even though I was in forever. And I, it took some time to get used to it, but I was stationed at Beale Air Force Base in Northern California, about an hour north of Sacramento. Um, it took me a long time to mature into a rural location, I think. My last 5 years I was there, I loved it. The first 5 years, there is what saw as nothing to do.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I like mine. The worst was in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And the reason why it was the worst is because the only thing that was available was strip clubs and alcohol and nothing else. That's it. So you could just imagine. So,
Hey,
but
some might
we,
say that
we
was the best duty station they ever
no,
had.
no, that's the worst when you're 18 and you cannot
Oh,
drink.
Ooh,
yeah.
big oof. That sounds like a recipe
Yes.
for
So
disaster for a lot
It
of dudes.
it does. Yeah.
exactly. So you can imagine. But well, moving on. I'd like to say the next one I'd like to say on a lighter note is what was your favorite job like experience? Like for me, I like to say just so you understand, like the best experience for like a job I had, like I was doing VIP protection for a general and I got to meet the president as a job. So for me, that's like memorable. That's like the greatest. I could die tomorrow and say, yes, I've done that. So what would your experience, what would that be like, Eric?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. First of all, that's not something that's probably less than 1% of the world could say. My favorite was when I was in the drove an ambulance as an EMT. We got to do so much cool stuff, man. I would go TDY, which is temporary duty for anyone that's not military. You get to go travel and basically practice with paramedics, go on real life calls. Got to ride on a Black Hawk helicopter. I mean, they're like doing embankments over the city, and I'm looking down like hundreds of feet in the air. So, transferring patients, that sort of stuff. I loved being a medic because I got to do a lot of cool things. One other really cool thing I got to do was go into the B1, which is our airplane here, and because we had to practice pilot extractions. So if they land and a pilot's having oxygen problems, we got to go in there. Well, the firemen go in there, pull them out, and then basically we take care of them in the back of the ambulance. So
Oh,
those are my favorite.
yeah, wow, be on. That's pretty cool. What about you, Justin?
So I had a job that I don't think most people would say was a good job. Being an aircraft mechanic in the Air Force on fighter aircraft usually meant up to 16-hour days quite often. Um, but I really, really started liking it after about 10 years. So my job was a trade job, so it takes years to learn. And it was when I was a staff sergeant or E5. So I was an NCO and I had troops and I became experienced enough to be the lead mechanic on the flight line. So out of our entire fleet of U2s, I was the most experienced mechanic. And I got to, I was in charge of the guys, and I would be able to assign them where to go. I would bounce jet to jet to jet. So it was a lot of it was very rewarding to be both in the field but in charge of it at the same time.
Okay. Well, that concludes our show. I'd like to thank our guests, Eric and Justin, for joining us, and to our guests watching in the studio, thank you for all. I'm your host, Chris, and that will be it. Have a good day, and thank you. We're going to go to a commercial break.
Oh, Chris, I think you misunderstood. 4 minutes.
Welcome back to 1% Culture Show. Back with Eric and Justin. So the next question I would say is, based on our last discussion, is what would, if you had a choice to perform a different job in the military, what would that be? Okay, I'll go with you, Justin.
So I actually tried to change jobs quite a few times early in my career. So there's this position in the Air Force that's called biomedical engineering technician. And what they do is they work on hospital equipment. So I kind of thought that would have been like the best of both worlds for me. I get to work on stuff, but I also get to be in the AC with, where Eric would hang out, be able to hang out in the nice areas, get lunch and stuff like that. That would have been cool. But I ended up just loving my job, to be honest with you. So I'm pretty happy with where I ended up.
Okay. What about you, Eric?
Well, first of all, I can't let Justin's comment just fly without adding something. Not only did we have AC, we got to work out every day. So
hey, lift a couple generators up above your heads and bolt them in, and that was our workout right there.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Chris. I did love my job as a medic. I guess if I had to think of something that I would want to do more, it's not really like the safest or wisest choice. My wife would probably be upset that I say this, but maybe like a combat medic. I think it would have been really, not to be all heroic and, I'm sure I'd crap my pants every day I go to work, but I feel like at the same time, how much cooler it would have been and maybe more rewarding if I was out there. It would have felt like I was making more of a difference, right? And I know that like working in the clinic, working in the ambulance did obviously make a difference. But man, can you imagine being out there, seeing some of that stuff, trying to help those guys, bring them back home? And I'm sure I'd be a little more messed up mentally today.
Yes, definitely. Don't forget the mental aspect of the mind and your body. That I could speak firsthand. Your body is what takes the toll. So, yeah. But mine is probably more on the light-hearted side. I actually wanted to be work in the mess hall, just because they had access to all the food. And back in my day, I used to be a fat boy, so
they starve you in the Marines or what, man? I never wanted to do that.
We were not fed pretty good, so the food was priority number one. So okay, so our last question for the day, we end on a sad note. What was the worst job that you had, Eric? We limited on time, so let's try to make this quick.
Worst job. Well, I was a medic the whole time, so I'm just trying to think. But I did move. Experience.
I'll go first. For me, the worst is I was in charge. I was the waste disposal CEO, as they like to call it. Basically, I was in charge of burning the waste in the camp.
Goodness.
So keep in mind, I had to stir everybody.
Man, it pays to be Air Force, man. I don't know one airman with that story.
I had to stir it personally. So,
dang. Yeah, I don't have anything
So-
gross like that. You know what?
Okay, well that's good. That's good. What about you? Just okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, we dealt with some nasty like lab things, you know. Well, obviously blood, but feces. Okay, wiping people's butts. That'd probably be my worst. Yep.
Okay. All right, what about you, Justin? You got 10 seconds. What about you?
On the U2, there's a urine receptacle little box that we had to actually physically take out and then pour the pee down the toilet. So that sucked every single time.
All right, so we're gonna end it on that note. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate our hosts, guests Eric and Justin. That's it from 1% Culture, and see you all next time.
That was a good way to end it.